The greatest loneliness you can feel is not in the absence of people, but in the forced presence of connections that demand you be less than you are. Perhaps you have already experienced a major transition, a divorce, a loss, the discovery of a painful truth, and today you carry emotional exhaustion and a deep existential restlessness. This pain is not a failure, but rather the starting point for your conscious awakening. Your body listens to everything your soul whispers, and it is asking for the only remedy capable of transforming this isolation into wisdom and inner strength: shadow work. This is not an invitation to more fanciful spirituality, but to self-development grounded in truth. We will use the lucidity of Jung's thought and the brutal authenticity of the poet Charles Bukowski to provide you with a practical life guide on how to heal your trauma, find your spiritual truth, and reject, once and for all, the cost of social performance. Prepare to begin your inner transformation. For the seeker, loneliness reveals that the trap is not being alone, but being in false connection. The cost of maintaining a forced smile, the social lie, and the performance of being fine is the draining of your vital energy. When you feel lonely next to someone, your living soul is signaling that you urgently need to re-establish your boundaries. The antidote against those you perceive as drainers is not anger, but strategic withdrawal. Your emotional health must be your primary ethic. Use chosen solitude as a tool for discernment. It is the mirror that reveals where you are ineffectively investing your presence. Not all pain is a punishment. Some are invitations to this rediscovery of value. Strategic withdrawal requires 3 immediate changes in your consciousness. First, stop justifying your choice. Silence does not need an argument. Second, establish the sanctuary of no. It is not an aggressive no, but a no that protects your inner temple and ensures your energy remains where it is most needed. Third, use time alone to practice an eagle's eye view of your connections. Solitude is the most honest vantage point for you to identify which relationships lift you up and which ones drag you down. If you cannot be authentic with someone, that connection has a cost your spirit can no longer afford. This withdrawal leads us to the next stage: how to transform this isolation into fertile ground, especially when it is imposed by the pain of trauma. Emotional healing after a trauma cannot be rushed, and solitude is the first embrace that life offers us. Isolation becomes a sanctuary, the only place where healing can take place without interruption. For spiritual awakening, it is crucial to transform loneliness from a suffered exile into a laboratory of self-knowledge. The reason for this isolation is profound. It forces you into active acceptance. You need to be alone to name the anger, shame, and sadness that the trauma has left. Stoic philosophy teaches us that happiness does not reside in having what you want, but in wanting what you have in the present moment. Active acceptance is not resignation. It is the cessation of the struggle. When you are alone, the external noise stops, but the internal chaos is amplified. You need to develop witness consciousness. Sit in silence and observe the anxiety, guilt, and fear without becoming a hostage to these emotions. Use conscious silence as your daily practice of presence. Your body is your map. Where does pain manifest as tension? Where does sadness reside? The contemplation of your own history allows silent wisdom to manifest. It is in this stillness that you find the inner strength to begin the reconnection with your inner path. Do not try to fix the wound. Just create the sacred space for it to reveal itself. Acceptance prepares us for the next step. The power we seek, as Jung taught, resides in the place we most avoid, the shadow. The power you seek resides in the shadow, the central concept of Carl Jung. The shadow is not just the bad in you. It is everything you have rejected: your legitimate anger, your unlived power, your most authentic instincts. Shadow work is the integration of these parts, not their repression. Your most powerful tool is inner silence. Without social performance and distraction, your shadow has nowhere to hide. Therefore, meditation and time alone are the quantum field where truth is revealed. The shadow emerges as your unchanneled vital energy. Your conscious awakening requires the courage to say, in the quietness, "I accept this part of me." When you judge arrogance or lack of empathy in someone, you are actually projecting your own shadow. The fear of being assertive or the repressed need to be cared for. The shadow is the raw energy of your authenticity. By integrating it, you stop reacting to others, because you no longer have anything to project. You become the mountain, stable and unshakable. All healing begins with the acceptance of what hurts, and pain is the portal that opens the fertile void, the womb of the invisible. True strength lies in carrying your own darkness, transforming it into wisdom, without the need to mask it. Truth frees us from dependence on external validation. If Jung gave us the theory, the poet Charles Bukowski gave us the most honest example of how this brutal authenticity manifests in real life. Jung taught us to map the unconscious. Bukowski shows us what happens when that map is lived without masks, with the naked courage of one who allows themselves to be imperfect. For those who reject hypocrisy, Charles Bukowski is the translation of the shadow in poetic action. What he teaches us is the technique of active rejection of any and all social performance, which is the true antidote against pathological loneliness. The guide to brutal authenticity is the courage to be ugly. His lesson is that emotional healing requires you to abandon the search for external validation and find integrity in your own company. He teaches us that solitude is the only master that demands you stop lying to yourself. Embrace kindness with the now, and stop violating yourself in order to belong. Your personal development is not in what you achieve in the world, but in what you accept about yourself. Integrity is not the healed self you post on social media. Integrity is the coherence between what you think, feel, and do, even when no one is looking. Bukowski did not seek the approval of others. He sought only honesty with himself. This is the power that emerges from solitude, the certainty that your presence is enough. You no longer need to wear the forced smile to secure your place at the table. Your place is guaranteed by your own spiritual truth. Where there is integrity, there is power. The brutal truth sets us free. Now, we need a transition map to take this strength back into the world without being drained again. To escape the loneliness trap and return to the world with the wisdom of shadow work, you need a transition script. This is the map that transforms isolation into power. Recognition of genuine pain. Stop fighting. Identify the pain. Name it. Don't interpret it. Just feel it. Pain is the seed that carries the potential for your inner transformation. Acceptance of the rhythm. The soul is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. Honor your healing process. Do not force fluidity. Observe the river that teaches effortlessness. Mapping the shadow. In stillness, use reflective writing to identify self-destructive patterns. This is not just a note. It is a dialogue with your unconscious. Ask yourself, what is this pain protecting me from feeling or doing? This is the inner listening that transforms. As a practical exercise, write down what you are most afraid to admit about yourself. Read it out loud, without judgment, and observe what changes within you. This is the first light that is born from the shadow. Ethical reconstruction of boundaries. Before returning to social interaction, define your boundaries of presence. Your no is your compass. You return no longer to be the vessel that is filled, but the one who offers the fertile void for consciousness. Your boundaries are an act of self-love, not punishment. The return as the mountain. You return as the archetype of the mountain, stable and unshakable. Shadow work and solitude have helped you discover that your spiritual truth is the only armor you need. Your presence is now your greatest power of attraction. By integrating the shadow and the silence, you become your own sacred dwelling. Your emotional healing is now your silent authority. You are not seeking the meaning of life outside, but finding it in the authenticity of who you are in the present moment. Final symbolic practice. Allow yourself a moment of contemplation. Bring to your mind the image of a lit candle in the silence of your chest. This is your living soul, holding firm amidst the darkness. Breathe deeply, honoring your presence. And what if the existential restlessness that confuses you today is, in fact, your deepest consciousness trying to guide you back to your essential truth? If something within you has calmed or awakened upon hearing these words, allow yourself to continue. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to walk with us along this road of fertile silence, discoveries, and reconnection. Leave your experience in the comments. Your sharing is also a seed of healing for other hearts. And if you are looking for a safe harbor to nourish this newly lit flame and find those who walk on the same frequency, our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Remember, totality is the true strength, not the forced smile. Honoring your truth is the only way. And to continue expanding your sanctuary of clarity, we suggest the video in the card. May it be a gentle breath on your journey. Peace and light.